It's the WALT Pod. Good to have you all along with us. I'm Ollie K. I'm here in the heart of Hightown at the Bricklayers Arms in Luton. And I'm joined. Got some new guests today. I've got Matt next to me. How are you doing, Matt?
I'm good, Ollie, thanks.
Yeah.
Good to be on board. The fans' favourite podcast from a poll I saw earlier this week on Twitter.
It is indeed. You're very welcome to be here. Really appreciate it. And as always, another one of my co-hosts, Ward writer Phil. How are you getting on today, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Just excited for the season to start. It was a bit of a tease, wasn't it? This weekend of all these games in the Championship, and we've not been part of it. So very much keen to get going. And again, always happy to be here.
Very much so. And producer Matt, how are you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thanks, Ollie. Love being on the pod. So, yeah, happy to be here.
Fantastic. And we are actually recording this before Luton Town play Burnley. A quick shout out to our audio partners, Blackstar Amplification and Carry On, for making sure that we sound absolutely top notch, giving us all these toys that you see in front of us. And also a big shout out to the record shop in Amersham. Thank you very much, guys. And also check out their vinyl. They got tons of it. Why not go and check out some of the artwork on that vinyl? And also it sounds fantastic. But let's jump straight in, shall we? Have a look back at everything that's been going on around Kenilworth Road this summer in our news segment. I heard it through Rowans Grapevine.
I heard it through Rowans Grapevine. Shamona.
Right, so home shirt gate, right? So we discussed it last week. We actually had technical difficulties, meaning we couldn't release last week's pod. We want to make sure that we're releasing the best possible quality podcasting as it's our first one. So we discussed home shirt gate, and you know what? A bit more has come out that it's been stated that it was the plan all along. Now, what are your thoughts about that?
I mean, for me, we spoke about it last week, and obviously the listeners won't know what we spoke about. But for me, it's felt like a bit of a bodge job. It's felt like it's papered over some of the cracks from just generally a lack of communication from the club. Obviously, I'm happy, and I don't want to be sort of like whinging and moaning, and people associate me with having a bloody good whinge on the podcast. But to me, it just felt a little bit off, and I think that they've spun it very, very well. And I use that word because that's what it seems to me. I think I listened to various different broadcasters, and I think that it was Dara McAntony, for the Peterborough chairman. He was explaining how he thinks that's all very well and good. That's great that you've been able to do that and say it's every other year. Brilliant. And a lot of the fans have been absolutely over the moon because they don't have to buy their kid a kit every single year. And it makes sense financially from a community club aspect. But the lateness of how they did it, that's the bit that sort of gets me. I just don't fully trust it. I just don't fully trust that that was the situation.
That's exactly the thing. It was so late, wasn't it? Like, if that was the plan all along, surely they would have announced it sooner, and also they would have had stock of the kits over the summer.
Obviously, we're not privy to what goes on behind the scenes, but to me, it does strike a bit of kind of crisis management. We're in a situation here. How can we make the best of it? Weave in a kind of narrative that is nice. It makes us look great publicly. I have to be honest, I'm not a massive kit person. So to me, this is not quite the big issue. I think the fact that we've had such a quiet pre-season has magnified this as an issue. So those are my thoughts, really.
He says he's not a kit person. He's wearing a 2000s away kit.
It's a bit difficult, getting a nice fit.
But we're talking about kits. So the away and the third kit were announced, and the third kit was received beautifully. It's a fantastic kit. The away kit, not so much, right, Matt?
No, I don't think so. It didn't quite have the same pizzazz as that third kit. I think I'll be buying the third kit and probably the first kit from last year. Our most popular. Yeah,
most popular kit ever, right?
I didn't get that last year, but yeah, I think those are the two that I'm going to get this year.
Yeah, and how about this, Matt? What were your thoughts about the third kit?
The third kit is nice.
The away kit?
Massive improvement on, the kit that we saw the day before, which was very unimaginative. A stock template effectively from last season that we just basically changed the colourway on. Wasn't too impressed with. But the third kit, yeah, absolutely.
So the away kit literally does look like copy and paste, like it was on the cutting room floor, and they just go, let's change the colours, right?
Yeah, it's a little bit like, because let's face it, it was the same situation with the Burnley kits last year. Like Umbro just gave us and Burnley a different colour palette and did the exact same things, and that's what they've done. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I have a slightly different take. I actually quite like it. I think if you're going to stick with the home kit, yes, it might be from the cutting room floor, but I quite like it. I'm not sure whether it's navy blue or black. There's been various different rumblings on Twitter about what colour it actually is. But when that third kit came out, and especially the detailing on the shirt with the sort of the old retro badge that coming back into play, I think that's the thing for it. I think if you put
the badge that's on your hat,
the badge is on,
absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, but look down to camera. I think that badge, if it wasn't that badge, if it was actually our traditional badge, I don't think the shirt would have as much about it. Because it's quite simple, really. I just think that with that badge and with the detailing in the background of it, it's an absolute beaut. So I'm pretty pleased with the way the club have turned it around in regards to the kits over the last week or so.
Yeah. In general, I'm delighted with the third kit. It's the one that I'm going to be getting. But let's talk about heading into this season. So we've kept the core of the squad together. To be honest, like Ross Barkley's gone, which is a big loss, especially in the middle of the park, where it's looked like in pre-season we've struggled to create anything through the middle, right?
So I think for me, Ross Barkley leaving the club is massive, really. I think we've had discussions on the podcast before about the fact that he, in my lifetime, he's the best player I've ever seen put on a Luton shirt. So he's going to be an absolutely gigantic miss. I think that we've obviously had some incomings, very few at the minute, but we've had Shandon Baptiste sign, which I think is a really positive signature to gain. Obviously, he's got Premier League experience from playing at Brentford, and he comes with their sort of their sign-off that he's a fantastic player. For me, I think having watched him in a couple of the pre-season games, he seems to fill the role of Lokonga better than he fulfills the role of Ross Barkley. But then again, I say that, and he got a wonderful assist last week against Celta Vigo, where he whipped the ball in nice and quickly, and Dowd's got on the end of it. So let's make no doubt about it. Barkley's going to be an enormous loss, and it's something that we're just going to have to get over. We've played without him before, and we'll just have to crack on and trust in Rob Edwards to make sure that he gets us playing the right way to still have that creativity on the park.
Well, we're talking about enormous losses. Ryan Giles, what a loss, right? Yeah, well, Rob Edwards fielded questions last week in the BBC Three County Radio studios, and he seemed to, one of the things that I picked up on was the fact that he said 3 signings incoming. So that is quite positive. And with John McAtee going to Bolton, we really do need those signings. And also Woodrow has been linked to
Derby
County. Thank you very much. Yeah. It's an interesting one, right?
I mean, it's one of those ones where with the transfer window, we've been used to the fact that things do sort of scale up towards the end. Traditionally, the transfer window does sort of come to a dramatic end towards the end of the window. And one of the questions that I was very fortunate for Rob to answer in that Three Counties Radio show was the fact that, is there an element of Luton being taken for a ride a little bit by clubs that we would usually have had a good relationship with, where we might have been looking at players either in our own league or a league below, and they've gone, actually, I want a bit of your financial pie. You know,
in reality, that is pretty much the only way that non-parachute payment clubs have a way of making any money. You know, taking advantage of clubs that have big incomes or parachute payments.
But then Rob's response to that was the fact that, yes, that is happening. There's been an element of that, but we're also not going to change our ethos. People need to understand that if you're going to deal with Luton Town, then basically that we're going to operate in a certain way. And I think that generally speaking, in that interview, whilst I love the way that Rob comes across, and whilst I love the way that he is with the media, there is an element of stubbornness about Rob Edwards. He wants to do things his way. He's given us feedback about the transfers, but he is quite stubborn, Ollie. I don't know where it comes from.
One of the things that we've discussed since the interview was the fact that Rob Edwards stated, yes, we have a way that we want to play, but in reality, we might not be good enough to play that way, with respect to the defence, in the sense that he wants to continue playing out from the back, but he has also said our defenders might not be good enough to do that. Does that concern you?
In the short term, yes. Start of the season, if we think of having a back three of, let's say, Walters, who's fine at doing that, Mengi, fantastic defender, not so great at playing out, but fine, and then a Johnson or a Holmes. There are issues there because you would like to have Bell, you would like to have Burke potentially, or Walters. If we can bring somebody in that can do that is better at doing that, then fantastic. I just think from the questions that he fielded the other day, he was very clear that we're not going to change too much. So I think we can expect more mistakes, more individual errors. But he said in the High Performance podcast as well.
I didn't watch that one.
Well,
I can't stand Jake Humphries.
I've managed to tolerate it. But he was adamant that we're not going to change the way we play, that sort of thing. If you make mistakes, it's on me. Do not worry about it. So I don't see him suddenly becoming really pragmatic.
I wouldn't mind a bit of pragmatism, to be honest. Like, for the defenders, I wouldn't mind pragmatism for the defenders. Let the midfielders play openly and with their hearts, right?
I think we've got enough versatility in the squad to be able to kind of do that, horses for courses. You think of Walters, a lot of the debate has been, is he a right-sided centre-back? Is he a right wing-back? In certain games, he could absolutely be a right wing-back when we need to be a little bit more, let's say, cautious. You could have a Reece Burke at right centre-back. In a game where we're expected to dominate and we're facing, say, a low block at home, there's absolutely no reason why Walters couldn't be in there to bring the ball out.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, looking at the injuries that we're coming into the season with as well. So Rob also discussed that on Three Counties, where he mentioned that Bell was the closest to a return. I don't think as mentioned, this is recorded pre-Burnley. Don't think Bell's going to turn up for Burnley. It could be Joe Johnson at left centre-back. Bell's the closest. Yeah. Then Burke, who potentially has had surgery on an Achilles issue. And then Anderson. We shouldn't even talk about Mads Anderson because it's just so concerning.
It's notable by his absence, but you were talking earlier on about all of our options. You didn't mention Mads. And I get that.
I forgot as well. Whenever I list our defenders, I always forget about Mads Anderson.
We just haven't seen him. We've seen him probably a handful of times, and that's about it. And it's not that I'm anti-Mads. Like I was really excited.
Scored the first goal in the Prem for Luton at home.
Yeah, I'm really excited about him playing for us. I just want him to play for us.
I think it's a case of wait and see with Mads, because if you look at his record pre-Luton, for Barnsley, he played a lot of games. He had one or two sort of niggles, but he didn't miss too much. He played quite a lot of games, so it was just a kind of,
I think at this level,
injury, and it's just reoccurred, and obviously setback after setback. We'll just have to wait and see.
I feel better about him coming back into the team at this level, if I'm being entirely honest with you, after a season at League One, playing for Barnsley. And that's not trying to be disrespectful to League One, but there is a jump. There is a jump, and just like we saw the jump between Championship and Premier League, and I think I'm more excited about having Mads back this year than I am about having him as an option last year. And that might seem a little bit odd, but I don't know. I just feel like he'll be able to settle in and gain a place in the team for himself in a Championship season rather than last year.
Completely agree. Well, are you delighted that it looks like Teddy Mengi's knock against Celta Vigo was minor?
I'm delighted, but I'm also a little bit worried because, thinking back to last season, these sort of things were happening quite a bit to Mengi. He was going down quite often, wasn't he? Potentially once a game, every other game sort of thing. And I just wonder whether as he kind of, he's had a pre-season and time off, but he's already running into trouble. How do we manage that? Because we do not want to lose Teddy Mengi for a sustained period of time. We can't cope with that.
Well, there have been sweeping changes across the board. Producer Matt, after the news was announced that Luton Town have a new head of medical, I think you messaged me straight away. He's like, Ollie,
I did.
It's big news.
You immediately, I know obviously the last article, Chief was questionable, I think is maybe the word. I think we're both looking forward to a new Chief of Medical coming in and seeing if we can sort out some of these injuries.
Yeah, and this guy has a wealth of experience, Tottenham, Chelsea. So, he's been around, he's got footballing experience. So I guess we got to hope, right? And hopefully he knows how to bring players back from injury, because that is a big issue. We've had setback. Mads went to Denmark for his recovery, had a setback. He must have had a setback. He was hoping to come back for the tail end of the season. And we haven't seen him since, like not in pre-season. It's worrying, but we got at the time of recording, this will be released on Tuesday, most likely. We have Burnley next, and I guess we're all quite nervous about what defence is going to turn out for Luton Town, right?
Yeah, it's going to be based on Mengi as well. So that what Matt just said a short while ago about his sort of susceptibility for a knock is a little bit of a worry. But I have every faith that he'll warrior through it. If that it's even a turn of phrase,
he'll soldier through it.
He'll soldier through it. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's a far better turn of phrase. But I mean, because let's face it, he was doing that a lot at the back end of the season. I think once things became a little bit clearer about our plight, I think that he gave himself a little bit more leeway in terms of going off and things because he was battling through it. But I think with the Burnley game, we'll see obviously how it goes. Like I say, it might be irrelevant to speak about it now, but I think that he'll be the sort of linchpin at the back. I would imagine that he'll be given a sort of a man-to-man job against their main striker, which I'd expect will be Lyle Foster.
It'll be Lyle Foster.
Yeah.
He bullied Tom Lockyer last time out.
He did. He's not going to be able to bully Mengi just for pace and physicality. He won't be able to do that. So I'm hopeful that we'll be in a better position. And the issue around the sort of the sided centre back, so the left centre back and the right centre back, I think it could be quite interesting if we play Joe Johnson and Raul Walters because they've got some exceptional wingers. So if they've got wingers that are able to get past Ogbene and able to get past Doughty in the first place, it'd be quite nice to know that you've got the backup of another sort of natural fullback in Johnson and Walters to be able to sort of deal with the likes of Odebear and deal with the likes of Kolyosho. So I'm hopeful. Like I say, this comment could fall completely on its arse by the time this is released. But I'd like to think that we'll be okay given the way the Burnley play on Monday. Fingers crossed.
Famous last words.
Last words indeed.
But with the injury issues, I'm sure that the back three that play against Burnley will most likely be playing also against Portsmouth and possibly for the next 2 weeks until we can get Amari Bell back. But anyway, let's head into our next segment, which is a new segment. We hope you enjoy it. It's the WALT Wheel of Games.
WALT Wheel of Games, WALT Wheel of Games, WALT Wheel of Games, we'll play.
Let's spin the wheel.
Oh,
Spin again.
No, that's not spin again. That is, let me have a look at this. It is player cycle.
Oh no.
Player cycle. Okay.
Oh, no.
So,
Oh no.
so this could be over pretty quickly.
Yep.
So player cycle. Someone mentions a player and then the next person has to pick the last letter of the first player's name. So for instance, if I say Nathan Abbey, then that's a Y. The next person has to say Yesa Kasim. Okay, so
Someone's read the script.
we'll see how long we can go for. I don't think this will go on for very long. Okay, Matt, do you want to kick this
I'll
off?
kick this off. Enoch Shawomney.
Oh, I wanted to say Ian Robertson. Ian Fuhr.
So an R.
Robbie Wilmot.
Tinashe Chibata.
What's the letter? Well,
A.
A.
He played a couple of games in our conference winning season. Just FYI.
Oh, nice.
Youth player, yeah. An A, man. Come on.
Oh yeah. My idea. Andros Townsend.
T.
D. Lots of D's.
There are lots of T's.
Oh, we're going to have a time limit on this.
We're going to go with Danny Hilton.
Okay. Nathaniel Roturner.
Great show.
Ryan Giles. Do 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 do. Oh, well, I don't know who messed up, but that was a bit of fun. That's a very tough game, isn't
I got
it?
it
I'm going to give you another one.
Well, then you lose.
Nathaniel in it.
Yes, it is. It is. Ah. Matt, yeah, you take the
Honesty, though, honesty.
yeah, you take the loss. Right. Right, now it's time to discuss the best league in the world. It's time for Championship Chat.
Champ chats, champ chats, champ, 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 champ chat. Champ chats, champ chats, champ, 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 champ chat.
In this episode of Championship Chat, we're going to talk about some of the highlights from the game week so far. As mentioned, this is recorded before Luton Town Burnley. So we'll talk about some of the games that have caught our eye so far, as well as giving some maybe preseason predictions, dark horses, top scorers, etc. So let's kick this off with West Brom. So West Brom, in the pod that was never recorded and we shall never speak of, we were saying West Brom are done. Transfer embargo, selling off all their assets like Michael Jackson, and then they win their opening game and Josh Maja bags a hat-trick. I didn't even know they had Josh Maja.
I'm going to call something on this, actually. Did you watch the highlights?
What was the highlights? Yeah, a brief word about the highlights. They were terrible. There was no analysis. Like, bring back EFL on Quest. It was literally just the cuttings from what you could get from clubs' YouTube videos.
Yeah.
Brutal.
But Josh Maja didn't score that second goal. I'm sure it was an own goal. He's just been credited with a hat-trick because it looks nice on the end.
That's what you want a striker to do.
I'm sure it's an own goal. I'm sure it is. But that being said, he scored a brace. He scored a brace away from home against QPR. So you can't say fair enough. I think that you're right. There's obviously trouble at West Brom. The one thing, the sort of joker that they've got really, or the ace in their sleeve is Carlos Corberán. Because he just knows how to get teams in the playoffs.
He's such a good manager.
He's so good.
He knows how to manage in difficult situations as well.
Yeah,
proven that with Huddersfield.
Yeah, I mean, last year West Brom were obviously in the playoffs. Didn't have the best of luck in the playoffs. But again, I think a lot of people before they started selling off their assets were thinking West Brom will be there or thereabouts again, just purely because of Corberán.
Well, to be honest, I didn't even think about Carlos Corberán when it came to predicting how West Brom would do this season. It was entirely, they're selling Brandon Thomas-Asante, who I really rate. Yeah. But, they got Josh Maja just right there. But let's have a look at the next game that took our eye. So Norwich are humbled 2-0 by Oxford. And it's pretty brutal for Johan Hoff Thorup, who came with this philosophy of football, and then at the end of the day, Oxford just bullied them.
I thought they were fantastic. Again, I know it was only on limited highlights, but Grant Hanley was sprawling around on all fours, having been bullied off the ball by the Oxford player for the first goal, and then the second goal was just such a wonderful sweeping move where he's tucked it in. I mean, the angle from behind the goal, the ball was no further away than I am from Matt from Angus Gunn, but it was struck so sweetly. It was just a great goal, and it was just nice to sort of see a young manager with a young set of players knowing their game plan and being able to go and execute it. Because I thought they were fantastic in the playoff final as well. I thought they absolutely schooled their opponents in the playoff final, and they deserve to be here. So good on them. So
Matt, for Des Buckingham, which is a sensational name, porn star name, they absolutely bossed them in terms of analytics, touches in opposition box, tackles won, amount of passes, accurate passes, shot at goal, shots on target, XG. They beat Norwich across the board. Do you think Oxford can actually sustain this, or do you think that's just an opening day win?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I have them to go down personally, and I think there's something to be said for a sort of shock factor. Obviously, teams have huge analytical departments. They do their research, but when you actually come up against a team you've not necessarily faced, you do have that sort of grace period. And also you look at things like squad depth over the course of the season. I'm not sure.
They're going to get tested, that. Right?
Yeah. But, it was a classic championship scoreline. Exactly what you kind of enjoy being back for. Shocks can happen at any time.
Yeah, see, you don't get that in the Prem. That is why the championship is so fantastic.
Producer Matt's dark horse in our unreleased podcast.
Unrecorded episode, Oxford were my dark horse because I think they're going to be okay. I think they're going to survive the Championship. I did actually catch the first half, and Norwich did look bad, but Oxford did actually also look quite good as well. And as you say, they were bullying them the whole time. So it's a really great Championship game to watch.
Well, with new philosophies, new managers especially, take a while to bed in. But let's have a look at one of the other new boys in the league, Pompey. What a game that was. Like, I think me and Mark Ryman in our Championship predictions both thought Leeds were going to win by like 3 goals. And in all fairness, at the beginning of that match, it looked like Leeds were going to be home and hosed by the end of the first half.
They could have been home and hosed before they scored their first goal. They were literally absolutely all over Pompey. And I think I listened to John Mousinho's interview afterwards, and he was saying that actually it took for them to concede a goal for them to actually understand that, take a breath, calm down, like that. But going away to Ellen Road on the first day of the season was some task for a newly promoted side. And I thought that the way that they equipped themselves, they tried to be as tight as they possibly could. But ultimately, they took their chances. There was a couple of players that really stood out for me. I think Callum Lang, who scored the belter from the outside of the area, and the way that
pick of the goals.
Absolutely, the goals, and the calmness to put that penalty away in the 92nd minute. I know that they obviously didn't convert it into 3 points, but some bottle to go and take a penalty, shooting at the home end and tuck it away with the confidence he did. So obviously we've got them next week. So that was the reason why I wanted to watch that game specifically, because it was a bit of a scouting mission, really. I thought they're a solid enough side. I think that we'll obviously cause them problems. It'll be an unbelievable atmosphere down there next week. I think that going down to Fratton Park and hearing that cowbell go off in their first game in the Championship for about 12 years, I think it is. They've not been at this level. It's going to be quite the event. So I was keen to know who was who, and I'd like to think that we'll turn them over. But yesterday showed that anything can happen in this league, and I thought they played very well. Yeah,
look, Callum Lang, he's stepped into the void left by Colby Bishop, who we hope is absolutely fine following heart surgery. But wow, like, his goal was absolutely sensational. And I've got to ask though, was that the most one-sided 3-3 draw you've ever seen?
I haven't actually seen the highlights yet, but I would just say that at this time of the season, you get these sort of results. Teams are coming back from pre-season, bedding in new players. There's not been time to kind of work on everything. So you are going to see this for the first few weeks.
Yeah, there's a high expectation for Daniel Farker, though, this season with Leeds, right?
Yeah. And they should have won it at the end, let's be honest. Aronson is an absolute sitter.
Taylor 2 Aronsons.
Yeah. I sent you a message, didn't I? So it's a little bit like Harry Cornick. As soon as he had a bit of time to actually think about.
He scored the harder one.
He did, exactly. Yeah. It's Harry Cornick.
Yeah, like 98th minute, Aronson just slots it past the post when he was like literally time, space, right in front of the keeper, missed it. But the next game that we want to look at is another one of mine and Mark's locks for the week was Coventry suffering a defeat to Stoke. I just don't think Coventry have clicked this season so far.
I mean, it's one game, but still. but no, in all seriousness, I think I follow a lot of their podcasts and Coventry fans on Twitter, and they're not on a great run. I think after the semi-final loss against Man United, they've had a real downturn in form, and they're going to have to work hard to pick that up. I mean, again, we spoke about it last week. It didn't get put out, but we were all pretty much unanimous in the fact that we think that Coventry are going to be really, really strong this year.
They still will be.
I still think they
will. They're like us. They're notoriously slow starters.
Yeah. So and they've got Robbins at the helm, and I just think that they're a fantastic team waiting for big things to happen. And they've obviously been caught cold by Stoke. But like I say, I think that a lot of their fans were pretty gutted about losing, because they feel like this is the season where they've got to push on and go and do something.
Yeah, well, I've got some numbers for you, Matt, because I know you love your analytics. So I've said here in my notes, is this a new Stoke or a full Storm, or did Cov just not start? So Cov had a lot of the ball, 58%, did nothing with it, 7 shots, 1 on target, outplayed by Stoke, carving out a measly 0.60 XG
That is surprising with the amount of attacking talent.
I know, right?
Again, I would just go back to the fact that it's the first game of the season. You know, I did have them as being super strong this season as the kind of continuity candidates. Them and Middlesbrough, they'd be able to build on what they did last season. But if you actually look at the lineup, they were missing Ben Sheaf. They've got a couple of new signings that brought into the first 11. So, it could take some time for them to, and I believe they started slowly last season as well. So, it's the first game of the season. It's a long season, 45 more games to go for them. I think they'll be fine. I think they'll be playoffs.
But yeah, they have to be like the natural progression of COV. They really have to be. And also an interesting one to round out the games that jumped out us. Sheffield United versus Preston, but not for the reason that Sheffield United looked great. Those are two of the jammiest goals I've ever seen. So the first one for Arblaster, where the ball deflects into his path and then he takes a shot and it deflects past the keeper. And then the second goal for Gustavo Hamer. Great finish from Hamer. Great finish. But the keeper, Woodman, just threw it right to him.
I mean, you can only play the hand you dealt, and I thought that Hamer did it. It was an unbelievable finish to take that first touch and get it over it. But you are right. There was the unbelievable luck from the first goal. Second goal was handed to them, and then 2-0, and jobs are good. And it's this is the frustration about Sheffield United. They did it last time they were in the Championship as well. They, unlike Coventry and ourselves, who are notoriously slow starters, they flew out of the box in the last Championship season and pretty much crawled over the line by the end of it. I just worry about them doing it again. I think this time last week, I wasn't so worried about Sheffield United. I even made a claim about Sheffield Wednesday finishing above them. I was that anti-Sheffield. I'm still anti-Sheffield United, but they've made some good signings, and they've been touted to be. I mean, they were even linked with Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain the last couple of days. I mean, they're seriously going for it in the last few days, and like I say, they're already. The table says that they've had a draw, but they've already had a win because they've overcome that -2 straight away. They'll be there or thereabouts. So I just don't like it. I just they bore me to tears.
Well, they made some absolutely ridiculous signings. Like Harry Souttar's a good signing. Alfie Gilchrist, we haven't seen much of him other than that brief cameo against Luton last season for Chelsea. I made the bold claim on the pod that never happened that Wilder is the one that's holding them back, and I can see them going to try and pinch Danny Rowe. Yeah, I know, what a claim, right?
Can you imagine that? Riots in the Steel City.
No, I watched the game and I was really impressed with them, to be fair. From a kind of, in terms of the possession, tidy football, great kind of nous and that kind of thing, but they did lack kind of threat in behind. I thought it was all very nice 1-2s combinations between O'Hare and Gus Hamer and things like that. But they kind of lacked that penetration in behind. But obviously, if there are rumours of them, bringing in Rakzaki, a couple of other wings.
How many players do they?
Yeah,
how many players do they need? Right.
With the exodus that was happening, over the summer, people were talking about them finishing 9th, 10th. The business they've done has been incredible. I think they're about 2, maybe 3 signings away from being competitive. I don't see them getting automatics, but playoffs, I think they'll be okay if they finish off this window strongly.
Well, I think that's a perfect segue into bold claims for the season. Let's get some predictions. So who's going to be a standout player for the season? I'll start with you, Matt.
Elijah Adebayo.
Bias aside. Well, if he gets a service, yeah. And what about you, Phil?
For me, I think, again, on the pod that never happened, I picked Josh Sargent last week. And I haven't seen how Norwich were yesterday.
Yeah, well, he didn't turn up.
No,
he didn't turn up.
I want to do over, so I'm going to say Gus Hamer. If he stays there, he'll be incredible. We know that he can do it at this level. We saw him at Coventry, to our own detriment, how good he was there. If Sheffield United managed to keep hold of him, because I understand that there's a few teams that have been sort of looking at going at his release clause. If they do keep him, he could be the difference between them getting the playoffs and going straight up. Yeah.
What a player he was. If he hadn't gone off, we would have lost that playoff final, without a doubt. Yeah. And Matt, who is your prediction?
It's a tough one. I'm going to go Odebear at Burnley.
Ooh, good choice.
Really impressed me towards the end of last season. And I think just the step down in level, he is going to be lethal. Can't look past him.
I'm going to stick with my prediction of Haji Wright. I think he's going to build from last season.
Great shout.
I do think there's a lot to come from Cov this season, genuinely.
Yeah, I love that shout. It's a great shout, Ollie.
And who is the dark horse going into the season then? I'll go back this way. Who's your dark horse?
I haven't really thought about this.
I can come back to you if you want to have a thought. Okay, Phil, who's your dark horse of the season?
I think because of what I said earlier on, actually, I'm going to say West Brom for a playoff place. Despite everything, under Carlos Corberán, I think that they'll be able to squeeze into that 6th position. That's my dark horse.
It's purely based on Carlos Corberán, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Said it earlier, I'll say it again. I still think Oxford United. I think they've got
Stand by your guns, Matt.
Exactly.
Well done.
I still think they've got enough in the tank to survive in the Championship.
Yeah, and I'm going to say, I'll come back to you. Don't you worry. I'm going to say Coventry. It's the Cov Pod. Mark Robbins is sensational. I think I figured Cov will have an outside shot at automatics this season. Right, you
I would have said Cov, but for the purpose of I'm going to say Middlesbrough with a shout for automatics.
Carrick's doing a good job there.
I think most people will say they're bankers, well, not necessarily bankers, but favourites for playoffs. But I'm going to say, why not? They've always had a kind of patchy period, whether it be at the start or the end of the season. I'm going to back them to have a strong season throughout.
That's the definition of dark horse.
And we'll finish up our predictions with top goal scorer of the season. So I'm going to back my boy Haji Wright. Not my boy at all. I'm a Luton fan. This is in fact not a Coventry podcast. I'll back Haji Wright though because I think he will get the service. Sakamoto, Ellis Sims laying off things to him. He did really well last season. He'll build on that. Any idea about top goal scorer?
I'm going to go home. Carlton Morris.
Yeah.
I love that.
He did well last time he was in the Champo. Yeah.
He's a monster in this league.
Yeah.
I love that shout.
And he's got pens as well.
Yeah.
Lots of pens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chio will win a few of those.
Yeah, he will.
Yeah.
He will. For me, I'd actually like to check the odds on what is that? Not that we condone gambling, but I saw that he started for Leeds yesterday, and a friend of mine who's a Leeds fan, he's been crying out for it for months and months and months. They started Matteo Joseph up front yesterday, and he's pacey, he's got a little bit of nastiness about him, and if he can get the service from the likes of Nonto and Dan James, I think that he could be fantastic for Leeds. So and they'll win most of their games, let's be honest. And so I'm going to say Matteo Joseph.
There's been so much hype about Matteo Joseph. Yeah. It's crazy. I haven't seen much of him, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because I was watching Premier League football last season. But, but Leeds are still in the Championship, so why not, and producer Matt.
Continuing the bias, I'm going to stick with Elijah Adebayo.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I want to call Elijah Adebayo over Colton Morris. I think Elijah's sensational.
He'll get the service. I think seeing Morris and Adebayo during the Celta Vigo game, I think it was really good to see kind of the way they were working together, the threat they were posing. Obviously, we didn't get that many goals in the Celta Vigo game, and we weren't that great in the back, but I really liked seeing kind of the competition between the two of them. I think that will cause Adebayo just to go a step further in this Championship season.
See, I can't back Elijah just because of his injury record.
We need a full season, right?
Yeah.
You need a full season.
Say he was going to have a full season then, potentially, yeah. But I just think the way that we're set up, if you've got Elijah at the top, you've got Chong and Morris just slightly behind, a lot of the players are going to come from down the left-hand side, right? So you've got Elijah in there as a target. You've got Morris coming in at the back post potentially, or for knockdowns. I think Morris is going to get a lot of kind of tap-ins.
I hope so. I hope so. Right, so that rounds up all our predictions in this episode of Champ Chat. Now it's time for Mark the Hatter's Super Question of the Week. Mark the Hatter, he's put a question to us. Mark the Hatter, he's put a question to us.
Okay, so thanks to Mark the Hatter, as always, for the Super Question of the Week. I hope you guys are ready for this. Okay, so it's going to be a topical theme throughout the season. So this season is the first season to the Championship since the 1920 season when we were promoted from League One. It's a two-part question. Question 1, can you name the top 6 league goal scorer from our last season returned to the championship in 2019?
Luton goal scorer.
Luton goal scorers.
Okay, so James Collins.
Yeah.
Harry Cornick.
Yeah.
Harry Cornick was lethal that season under Graham Jones. Izzy Browning got 1 goal.
Who else they're going to be?
I'm used to
Sonny Bradley.
Sonny Bradley with
Sonny Bradley
Pearson must have got some then.
Pearson wasn't. Pearson was not lethal that season.
Think about flips.
Kazenga Lualua.
Yeah.
So that's 4.
4.
And we've got to think of the 5th.
Berry?
No.
Nah, Luke Perry didn't play much, did he?
Yeah, it was in.
He's in and out. Interesting.
I'll give you more hints if you need.
Yeah, go on, give us a hint.
So he is Luton.
Pelly.
Yep.
Pelly was great. That goal he scored against Bristol City. I was saying to the bloke that was sitting next to me, I was like, what is Pelly doing out there? He's going to take a shot. He bent it in the far corner. I was like...
Is that the year that we played Wickham in the Championship as well? And the old...
No, that was the season after when Wickham were promoted and we played about 100 minutes of injury time.
Yeah, because it's Wickham.
So we go all 5 then?
No, you got one more
I've got 1 more.
to guess.
It wasn't James Bree. James Bree didn't score.
Glenn Ray.
No.
Nah,
First letter is a C.
Carter Vickers. No. Cameron Carter Vickers.
A longer name than that.
Longer name. Oh, blimey.
Goodness.
Stumped. Absolutely stumped. Go on, Matt.
Cal.
Calvin McManaman. Completely forgot he played for us. That goal against Millwall was fantastic. I think he scored against Swansea as well. Vital when the league restarted.
Second part of the question, question 2. Can you name the top 5 players for minutes played in the 1920 season?
Wow.
There's five for this.
Collins again.
Colo's at top.
Harry Cornick.
Cornick's not there.
Wow.
Pearson. Is Pearson in this
Pearson's number 2.
Pearson was injured towards the end of the season.
No.
No, he lost his place to James Shea halfway through the season, didn't he? Then he came back in when we were... Oh, is it James Shea?
No.
No? Okay.
Sonny Bradley's number 4.
James Bree.
No.
Is Pelly in there again?
Pelly.
Yeah, Pelly has to be in there.
And the last one. Oh.
Of course, it's Izzy Brown.
No.
Sonny Bradley.
No.
Oh.
Already been said. That was number 4. Phil got that. It was, in fact, your favourite player, Ryan Tunnicliffe.
Ryan Tunnicliffe. Some vital goals. Yeah. No, I was a big fan of Martin Craney. That goal we scored against Brentford was absolutely insane as well. There were some good moments in that season, but it was also a painful watch.
It was horrible.
Yeah.
I hated it.
I think Mark the Hatter wins this week.
He does.
Fair play. Well done, Mark. But producer Matt, why is this podcast different from all other podcasts?
I don't know, Ollie. Why is this podcast different from all other podcasts?
Because there's a joke in it.
What do you call a French man wearing sandals? Philippe Philop.
So cheesy. I love it.
Okay, so a German man is on holiday in America and he goes into McDonald's. He goes up to the counter and he asks for a beer. Because you can get beer when you're in Germany, in McDonald's. An American man comes over to him, he says, "Oh, you silly guy, you can't get beer here." And the German looks at the man and he starts laughing. And the American man doesn't understand. He says, "Why are you laughing?" And the German man says, "Oh, I just realized you come here for the food."
I don't get it.
What?
It's for the food.
Not for the beer. So I was in Germany last year and there was no beer in McDonald's. So it took me right out of the reality of the situation right there. Yeah. Okay. Matt, you've had some belters, but that was not one of them. Right. Let's move on to look ahead to our next match against Portsmouth, as well as playing the Sluga Six.
Time to crash this podcast.
Sluga, six, Sluga, six.
Right, so next match against Portsmouth. What are the thoughts going into this one? We discussed it briefly that they had a great result against Leeds, but at the same time, are we going to be all right here? We can get a win, right?
I mean, it's difficult to say because we haven't got the benefit of knowing how we played against Burnley to draw upon. But I think when you look at the context of where we're coming from, we've kept the majority, other than the players that we mentioned earlier on, like Ross Barkley. We've kept the vast majority of our team from the Premier League. Yes, they had a great season in League One, but they were in League One last year. We were in the Premier League last year. I'd like to think that if we've got ambitions to go up, which we do, then we'll go over there and we'll turn them over. That's what I'd like to think. And I didn't see anything specifically from Portsmouth yesterday other than sort of steel and sort of metal to get through the game against Leeds that frightened me. I didn't feel like they had a standout player that's going to cause one of our wing-backs a serious problem and get in behind us. Like I say, they scored an absolute wonder goal for their second strike. But I think we'll have enough to overpower. I'm very excited about going. I have got my ticket and I'm going to go down there next week. So I'll make sure that I put a whole bunch of photos up for you to post on the podcast account, Ollie.
Of course.
It'll be really exciting to go down there and experience the atmosphere. But I would say that we don't have anything to fear. I think that people should be fearing us. And despite the party atmosphere that will be down there, I think that they'll be very wary of the fact that Luton Town are coming to town.
But you say steel and metal, and Matt, in terms of how we used to play under Nathan Jones, steel and metal was pretty much the foundations on which all our success was laid, right?
Absolutely. I actually think, probably disagree with Phil a little bit in that this great result for them and the fact that they're on such a high will probably make them, they're at home, they'll probably be fearless, and that maybe plays into our hands a little bit. We've got the players to hurt teams going forward. The issues are at the back, as we've discussed already. So I kind of feel like if they're not going to sit deep and give us too much respect, then it kind of plays to our strengths. So I'm thinking a positive result. Mm-hmm. I'm not confident enough to say a win. We haven't seen the Burnley game. So a draw, I think, would be a good result at this stage. Because for me, I feel like getting to the international break is about not necessarily damage limitation, but staying with the pack.
Yeah, keeping the points ticking over, trying to also integrate this, carry on this style of play that Rob Edwards has sort of implemented from last season and making sure that all the gaps are sort of patched. But also we have not international break, we have the transfer window that runs until the 1st of September anyway. So what with 3 potential signings coming in, it might be a centre-back that could solve a lot of our problems. It could be a central midfielder that gives us a different dimension of playing, similar to Ross Barkley. I'll tell you what, I love Cameron Brannigan. Well, I don't know what Oxford have on him to keep him there. What a player.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind him. I wouldn't also mind Sammy Smodics as well. If the rumours are going around that we've lost McAtee and we're potentially losing Woodrow, I wouldn't mind having a bash at Sammy Smodics, who started on the bench last week. So, yeah, the striker wouldn't go amiss, would it?
Yeah, but let's get our predictions in for the Sluga Six, which is a competition we're going to be running all season against each other and also against opposition podcasts. So we have Phil's opposition show that comes out and he gets the score prediction from the opposition podcast, but we also have a crack at it and we also probably get it incredibly wrong. But it's a lot of fun, and you know, the main thing is last season we didn't predict games because we were so superstitious, but we got relegated anyway, so that doesn't mean jack, does it? So Take it away, Phil.
Yeah,
Where do we kick this off?
So just to let you know, last week it was the turf cast. I spoke to Joe, and he was great to chat with. He put down for Burnley to win against us 3-1. When I told him about our defensive woes, he had gone for 1-1, but then he realised that we had such an issue at the back. And we said about being superstitious. What I realised last week after taking all the predictions was that none of us predicted a Luton win tomorrow. So we're still quite pessimistic about how things.
Well, we'll do this for the Luton Pompey game.
We will. So the first game that we've got is like I say, it's double points as usual. So it'll be the Luton game, and we've got Pompey away. Mark, who's not with us today, he's gone for a Pompey win, 2-1. So I myself have gone.
That's very negative,
isn't it? Just
blimey, good thing he's not here.
yeah, he might not get invited back if that comes to fruition. I've gone for a Luton 2-0. Matt, what are you going with?
I think it's going to be 3-1.
3-1 to Luton.
Yeah, to Luton. Sorry.
Good. Ollie?
I go 3-2 Luton. I think we're, makeshift defence at the back, even with Ted and Mengi. Yeah, it's still going to be JJ and Ruel Walters, pretty much opposition corner flags, right?
Yeah, we can't call on George Moncur to score a last-minute free kick in that 3-2, but we'll take the result. And Matt, what are you going with?
I'm going to go high scoring, but I'll go 2-2. I think a lot of our games.
Desmond!
Yeah, I think a lot of our games will be high scoring in this kind of early stage of the season.
Excellent. So the rest of the results, what I do each week in the Sluga Six is pick 5 random shouts and trying to get through all the teams so we can keep our eye on what's going on. So the next result is Plymouth versus Hull. Mark's gone for 3-0. I think that Plymouth could potentially be in a lot of trouble this year, having hired Wayne Rooney. So I am going to go with Hull to win 2-0. Matt?
Yeah, I'd mirror that, 2-0.
Ollie?
I don't think Hull have quite clicked yet. I think they still got to get a load of new signings in. So I'm going to go Wayne Rooney's Plymouth Argyle 1, formerly Liam Rossinia's Hull 1.
Couldn't remember the new manager's name.
It's Tim Walters, right? What's his name? I don't even know. He'll be gone at the end of the season.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's been a lot of turnover in the squad at Hull. I don't think they're going to get off to the best, getting off to the best start. I think 1-1.
1-0. That's a great shout. Okay.
That's correct.
Next one is potentially the tie of the week, really, and that's West Brom versus Leeds. Mark's gone for a 3-1 Leeds away win. I'm going to go with a Desmond. I'm going to go with 2-2. Matt?
I'm going to go with 1-0 Leeds.
1-0 Leeds. Ollie?
Going 1-1.
1-1.
2-1 Leeds.
2-1 Leeds. Okay, Leeds are looking like they've got the rubs agree on that one. The next one is Derby versus Borough. Mark's gone with a Desmond. He's gone with 2-2 draw. I think that Borough are going to go away and do the business on Derby. I wasn't overly impressed by Derby, so I think that Borough are going to win 2-0. Matt?
I'm going to go 2-1.
2-1. Ollie?
I can see Borough winning this one comfortably-ish. 2-0.
2-0. Yeah, and Matt?
I think Middlesbrough are going to be efficient this season, so 1-0.
1-0. That seems like a good shout, actually. I think you're right. They're still sort of the team that can grind out a 1-0 like they did yesterday. Penultimate game is Burnley again. So Burnley have got Cardiff next week. Mark's gone for 2-0. I'm going to say exactly the same. I'm going to say Burnley 2-0 against Cardiff.
I'm going to go 1-0 Burnley.
Ollie?
I think 2-0 Burnley.
2-0.
4-0 Burnley.
4-0.
Oh,
Yeah, I think they're going to send a message.
Well, right, okay, that's a great shout. That's a great shout. We'll see if that comes.
they're against Ethan Horvath, aren't they?
We'll see how anti-Welsh Matt is, because the next one is Swansea versus Preston. So Mark's gone for a 1-1 draw. I'm going to go, especially after the comments made by Ryan Lowe yesterday in regards to, the day before in regards to Preston's loss. I'm going to go for Swansea to win 2-0 at home.
I'm going to go for 0-0.
I think 2-1 Preston, because they actually impressed me until they started passing the ball straight to Sheffield United.
That's true. And Matt?
I'm going to go 0-0. I don't see too much kind of invention or incision in the final third from these two, from what I've seen. So yeah, 0-0.
Preston just sort of scream 0-0 a lot of the time, don't they? They're tight, but they don't seem to offer much going forward.
I like that Emil Rees-Jacobsen though.
Yeah,
tidy player.
Yeah. So that's the Sluga Six for this week. Like I say, I'll update on the socials. Following the Burnley game, we'll have an up-to-date scoreboard following week 1. Like I say, Ollie mentioned earlier on that we're doing this in regards to a charitable donation at the end of the season. So with the opposition view playing for the Luton Food Bank. So I'll be in touch with Pompey's social media group this week. And if you have a look at the opposition view, you'll hear their predictions from them.
Yeah, looking forward to your next opposition view against Pompey. That's going to come out this week on the YouTube channel. Speaking of the YouTube channel, like and subscribe. If you're watching this on YouTube and you like our content, former player interviews, a Luton Town Ladies podcast, even a non-league show, drop a like on the video, please. And also subscribe to our channel for even more Luton Town and Championship content. Also, a big shout out to our audio partners, Black Star and Carry On. They keep us sounding great. And a big shout out to the record shop in Amersham. Go check them out. But that's all from us this week here in the Brickies. Why not, if you're here on a match day in Luton, come on down to the Brickies, right? It's a top pub.
Absolutely. And thank you, as always. We say it every week, but thank you to the Bricklayers Arms for having us. It's an absolute pleasure to be in here in a place that's synonymous with the club. So thank you very much.
Yeah, great selection of beer on tap as well that we've already been sampling. But thank you all for watching. We hope you all have a great week. And as always, come on, you Hatters.